Let's go. Almost.
The wild unknown. Place can eat a man alive. Place is so raw, even the Calamity couldn't cook it. Not all of it. You know what's better than having a slinger pistol in a fight? Having two. Kid's faster than a slinger with those guns. Savage things lurking at every turn. Pincushions ain't the worst of it either. Pecker's got the core, like they're building a bastion of their own. The welcoming committee scrambles to attention. Didn't expect the kid so soon. By now, kid's got more needles than I'm gonna stab with. The wilds drag him down. They shouldn't have let their guard down. Getting that core was one thing. Getting out's gonna be another. He digs his way out of the clearing, but the wilds won't let him go without a fight. Wallflowers survive the Calamity. It toughened him up. Same goes for the kid. A handful of windbag shipments made it out this far. Kid's seen the last of him. Slinger Johnson's old outpost is all that's left of him. Kid sticks to his old standbys. Don't ever turn your back on the pincushion. kids roused up half the wild by now. When the kid gets the feeling he's being watched, not by me, by a lunkhead. Lunkheads ain't fond of two-legged animals. Already reclaimed this place. He's anxious to get back. After all, he's got the final core. His journey's over, right? Well, no, it ain't. Not by a long shot. Kid knows something's up when we ain't there to give a warm welcome. See, Zolf and I were just wrapping up a heated discussion. Zolf can barely muster the words. The calamity failed, he says, but I will not. And with that, Zolf leaves us here, alone. Zolf cursed the city, cursed the Bastion, cursed me, said he was going home. When Zolf got through reading that journal, he just snapped. Started smashing up the monument till I tried to stop him. Zolf banged up the monument pretty bad. But there's a way to put it back together. The shards. We're gonna need all of them to nurse the Bastion back to health. The city brought the shards to the wilds. Now the kid's gonna bring them back. We have to think fast to survive the wilds, and none thought faster than the slingers. They could shoot their pistols with the speed of a machine. They knew just when to start shooting and when to stop. Those pistols could spit out rounds just as quick as you could pull the trigger. Learning to hold your fire could be its own challenge. Slingers were much quicker than the average pistolier. The slingers could plug you full of holes faster than you could say draw. The slingers like to edge each other out using customized pistols. Eventually, it all comes down to reflexes. You can always get faster. Well, even the slingers weren't quick enough to escape the calamity. After Zolf's little episode, Kid sets off in search of shards. First stop, Jawson Bog. You'll get lost in that bog, I told the kid, and I won't be able to guide you back. Well, I let him go. What else could I do? What could any of us do? Zolf put us in a real bind. Hurt the Bastion bad. But the shards can make it better. They're like smaller doses of the core's medicine.
Oops.
Shame the only place to fill that prescription is out here in the wilds. This place is intoxicating. Don't know where he's gone. Might be gone for good for all I know. Wherever he is, it's somewhere I've never been. Somewhere I never want to go. There's no way out. driver? No, ma'am. It's a lonesome ghost of a gas fella. What do you say to a kid who's seen too much? I'm Zolf of Ura. Pleased to make your acquaintance. Now the kid sees something stranger still. Sure enough, he finds peckers, lunkheads, wallflowers, pincushions, pineapples, swamp weeds, ankle gaiters. Now the Bastion can send him even farther, into the wild unknown. Kid sets foot inside one of Ceylondia's famous watering holes. Security's just straight. He has the nerve to flash the shield he stole. He's a petty thief. Kids at sea is where the calamity failed. Would you look at what he did to poor old Ronde the bartender? Proper story's supposed to start at the beginning. It's so simple with this one. Now here's a kid whose whole world's alright, snoozing there on a rock in the sky. He wakes up. I'm just fooling. He sees what's left of the rippling walls. Years of work undone in an instant. He sees what's left of Pith, the bull. Gods, they're all undone. He sees what's left of his lifelong friend. His friend, he's going down too. He sees what's left undone.
Just started again. How are you?
Thought we'd lost him, but he finally comes to. The shard ain't lost either. Not anymore. Now to find a ticket out of this hole. Disgusting things. Ever heard of a lung blossom? It's bigger than the stories say. The breath on that thing, like a scumbag sprung a leak. get a sure footing in the bog. They say one whiff of lung blossom can make you lose your mind. Well, a kid prunes it down to size somehow. Mother only knows what happened in the bog. Kid never much cared to speak of it. A shard is like a poor man's core, but beggars can't be choosers. That's it. A few more shards like that, and we'll be back in business. A single shard can breathe new life into this place. The shard's got enough juice to spruce up any of these places. Just the occasion to crack open the distillery's private reserve. Cinder brick stout sure goes down smooth, then stays in your gut like a rock. Ain't never letting go of his old friend with a sturdy grip like that. Takes a lot of moving pieces to make a dependable sidearm. The city tried to use the shards to stake out the wilds. So much for that plan. Ankle gators used to roam the wilds, and they nested at Rothus Lagoon. Many a tale folks used to scare their children straight originated here. All kinds of beasts we don't know up from down, still lurking about. Only the city's brushers knew their way around the lagoon. They moved quick and quiet, and they struck hard. These beasts, they don't like company. Can't get hasty in a place like this. Even the brushers learned to fear this place. They used to think that ankle gators were extinct. Well, they ain't. One of them Lagoon's been living in the tall grass. Turns out Queen Anne got a hold of a shard. Ankle gators love shiny things. The lagoon's got plenty of other dangers, of course. Know what smells worse than an ankle gator's breath? A stinkweed. Can't fight Queen Anne without the proper tools. The brushers use their pikes to keep their distance around here. Now the kid can do the same. They say you can't hurt an ankle gator unless it's raining, and it ain't raining. Sharp sticks make Queen Anne nervous, so she backs off a bit. Kid's got a mean throwing arm. Those pink cushions been living off the ankle gator's scraps. Queen Anne can't fit down some of these narrow paths. Queenie leads the kid into some kind of twisted trap. One bad step in that tall grass and he's Queen Anne's lunch. He holds his ground. Seems the Queen's running out of options. He takes off after her. The closer you get to an ankle gator's lair, the thicker the tall grass grows. Kid's gotta make a run for it. Those leaping lunkheads don't like Queen Anne any better than the kid. Bad idea to walk in gator grass. Queenie must have scared a bunch of peckers out of hiding. Ankle gators don't much care for their young. That's why there ain't many around. Wanna know how to find an ankle gator lair? They use a kid as bait. The shard's sitting in plain view. Now she's coming for him. She's got nowhere else to go. They say if you run across an ankle gator, you better keep running. She's starting to get annoyed. It's done what needed to be done. Queen Anne's reign is over. We even got a crown jewel. That Gator's a crazy gal, but so's the gal who promised to look after her. They said Queen Anne was just a folktale. Now there's living proof she ain't. With Pike and Repeater in hand, he's like a man come straight from the wilds. All that trouble for a single shard. But you know what? It was worth it. Ain't saying much, but that's the greatest forge in all the city. To fix a brusher's pike, you just need a good length of knife bark. The next shard should be farther out there in the wilds. Know how Caelondia became the richest city in the world? 2 words. Point Lemaine. If the wilds could ever be tamed, it was gonna happen right here. The army's triggers once had the place on lockdown. Kid might as well pick up where they left off. Point Lemaine seen better days for sure, but it ain't done. Whole place shudders in a fit. The grand rail of Point Lemaine, not only is it still there, it still works. Of course, it's no longer shipping hides and alloys and spices, but it can give the kid a lift. Just as long as he can stay clear of the trouble on the tracks. Grand rails all grown over with things of calamity chewed up and spat out. Things eager to take back their turf. Kid don't let so much as one of those things slip by. Lunkheads settled in like they own the place. footwork on the rail, what with wallflowers, coughing fungus everywhere. Zealandia lost many good men on the rail.
There's the first one.
Place used to be closed off, but now it's split open like a rotten pineapple. Of course, the Grand Rails see much more fight in bygone times. Near on 50 years ago, first shots fired in the Ura-Celandian War. It was right here that Zulf's Ura forefathers decided to mix it up. Okay, so maybe we didn't get their sign-off on the whole Grand Rail thing. That was bad. The rail must have shook the Ura to the bone down in those dens of theirs. Well, the rail won't last much longer now that the kid took the shard. It's still got one good run in store for it. All the rotten wood there on the rails turned it into swamp weed central. Ever tried dancing side to side while holding your breath? While choking on swamp weed? While peckers trying to prick you in the eye? Well, let me tell you, it ain't fun. But then, at last, it's the end of the line. They'll be picking swamp weed out of those boots for days. Turns out he's got company at the rail station, waiting for him. Not just another wallflower, pincushion, mind you. At first he thinks it's Zulf. Turns out he's wrong. This is for you, says the man. Then wham. When the kid comes to, the man's long gone, but something else is there. The only words Kid recognizes on that parchment are for Zia. Well, what's a kid to do? He took the shard, he took the hit, and he took that note. That note cuts straight to the heart of things, don't it? Too late to unlock the potential of this place. We need an awful big lost and found under the circumstances. Finding gourmet ingredients ain't easy these days, but we'll take what we can get. The note says it plain. Zia, go east to learn the truth about the calamity and our people. I'll be waiting. Sincerely, Zulf. Zulf's messenger was one of his people. Wonder just how many of them survived, and what exactly Zulf told him. Kid don't always care for fancy guns and things. A bow and pipe will do just fine. Kid arrives just in time to sample Zia's famous cooking. He wolfs down too much too fast, and it all goes to his head. I've said a lot about the kid, but he ain't the only one wrapped up in all this. What's he thinking? Well, let me see if I got this straight. I only heard it once. Once there was a normal Ura girl, but she wasn't born in the Tazzle terminals like the rest of her people. She was from Ceylondia. Her folks were orphaned in the war, taken in and raised inside the city, on condition they would never return to the terminals. Ura refugees who came into the city had to stay for life. It was a way to reduce the risk of city secrets leaking out. Mama passed away from birthing complications, leaving the girl trapped inside that city with no one but her father. Father was sharper than a brusher's pike, so he got a job working for the city's manses. His daughter barely saw him. Lost my train of thought there. Her father told her nothing of her Ura heritage. He told her nothing of them answers. It's for your own good, he said. She took to studying the arts, learned more through music than history books, gained a knack for strings and songs. At first, she tried to be like other girls, but her classmates spread word that her father was an Ura trader, selling out the city. One young man stood up for her, or so he led her to believe. He knew much of her heritage, and she grew fond of him. Convinced her to take him to a family den to meet her father. Spoke of how he wanted to meet a man from the terminals. When the young man greeted her father in the Ura's native language, her father flew into a fit of rage and threw them out. The young man never told her that the Ura's native language is not to be used by foreigners. To do so is a terrible insult. It was then that she decided to escape. The two of them could flee the city together and go to the Tassel terminals. They would hide inside a garbage bin until it got ingested by a scumbag, then let him slosh on out of the city for disposal. But the authorities were already there when that scumbag sidled up to the city walls. The young man had sent the authorities a tip. Told him her father was using her to sell secrets to the Tassel terminals. father were arrested for treason, but her father got a deal. Returned to work for the Mansers, and she'd go free.
That city on a hill. Build that city on a hill.
Before they parted ways for the last time, her father whispered a desperate plea. Hurry home to the den and lock yourself in.
So build that wall and build it strong. We'll be there before too long. Come build that wall up to the sky. Build that wall up to the sky. Someday your bird is gonna fly. Build that wall until it's done. Come build that wall until it's done. But now you got nowhere to run.
She did as she was told, and deep down underground inside that den, she found a journal written in her father's hand.
Build it strong, 'cause we'll be there before too long.
The next day, the door to the den turned to ash. The girl came up for air, and she saw the calamity all around her. When the kid wakes up, his world's still in pieces, just the way he left it. He ain't all that shy. It wasn't fixed, it was unbroken. Graver gimlet tastes different the longer you swish it around. Miraculous stuff. The shards are getting harder to find. Not everything blew up in the calamity. Why Colford Cauldron here blew up way ahead of its time. The cauldron boiled over some 300 years ago. They say it filled the skies with ash and the lakes with molten rock. If you wanted to survive something like that, you had to learn to adapt. So in a way, the beasts of the wilds, they're all survivors too. It takes a certain stubborn pride to keep on living in a place like this. As for us, we learned an awful lot from Culford Cauldron. That learning led to some interesting inventions. The raw power of the world fell right into our hands. Playing with the cauldron's fires became an addiction. Sure, we dusted off a good many secrets out here. But we discovered other things we're better off not knowing. The unforgiving scent of sulfurous dirt. The taste of air so hot it sticks to your lungs. All sorts of awful things crawling underfoot. You can cook those things, but you can't eat them. We kept on sifting through the cauldron's secrets anyway. The more ash we swept aside, the more life we found. The place is inhospitable as they come. But still, we pressed on. After all, when we look down inside Culford Cauldron, smoke and flames. We saw in there the heart of the world, the heart now laid bare by the calamity. We had to have it. As for the kid, he just has to get that shard out of there. Too bad taking that thing woke up every last stink eye from here to Charleston Bob. Kid's thinking he's got to trek all the way back around the cauldron. Sure, it ain't the most convenient path. Biggest stink eye he's ever seen's waiting for him on the other side. Open on him like a pimple on a school day. Where there's one stink eye, there's always more. The cauldron's tenants all gather up to bid the kid have fun. It's awful hot in there.
Oops.
With a good spyglass, you can still see the cauldron from the city. But all the fires died out. There's nothing left of it. It comes back looking like the inside of a chimney. The shard works like a charm. You can hear the monument's heartbeat again. The memorial may be finished, but our part is far from over. We spotted a pecker carrying a shard to Mount Zan. Can't rightly call Mount Zan the mountain anymore. There's no more mountains now. There's no place left for the beasts of the wild to go. It's a delicate situation. Those beasts been hoarding all the valuables they could find. We only found their little lair because they found themselves a little shard. Good thing for those beasts the Calamity saved leftovers. The creatures of the wild, they've been building a bastion of their own. Children into this. Without a doubt, the situation stinks. Best thing we can do for those beasts right now is put them down quick and clean. Besides, we have to take back what's ours. Even if the beasts of the wilds won't like it. What the city left behind, those beasts took for themselves. takes a lot of convincing, and our mortars have to do the talking. Look at it this way. It's either them or us. But if we win, they win too. Our Bastion is everybody's game, not just ours. Unfortunately, there's no explaining that to a simple beast. Those beasts been hard at work fixing up the place. They've rounded up their survivors, just like we have. They've been searching for cores and shards, just like we have. Maybe they've thought about turning back, just like we have. We just really need their shard. Kid got it fair and square. You don't need to keep tangling with all those things. That's the way. He's done what's best for him, don't you worry. Don't you worry. We'll all be better off once the Bastion is complete. The monument's getting better. Zolf sure did a number on it, though. Fixed that thing right up, didn't we? Made these goings-on a little livelier. The culture, a still life of old unwanted keepsakes. The conscience. We haven't lost everything, as long as we have that. Suppose it's true a little song can put things in perspective. by a kid with a machete and a mortar. You just keep on walking. That mortar's gonna leave a lasting impression. The solid frame can put an extra sting in every slice. High time we built something new. Seems the gods recommended this place to all their friends. Think the gods are gonna help? Just a couple shards left. The quarry's gotta have one, right? Imagine everything you need to build a city like Zealandia. It takes hard work and planning, and it also takes a burstone quarry. The Ura tunnels beneath the quarry must have softened the blow from the calamity. We bought the whole place from the Ura on the cheap. Same goes for its natives, rattletails. Why would the Ura put up with those pests? Rattletails ain't the worst of it either, but more about that in a little bit. Windbags smaller than the naked eye can see are nesting in those rocks. Not only are these rocks a source of life, we found that the oldest ones remember things. They're recording everything, all the time, taking it all in. No wonder all those beasts were drawn to the quarry. The rocks were calling them. The quarry ain't exactly up to safety standards no more. Keeping the quarry free from pests turned out to be a problem. Rattletails kept tunneling in to snack on windbags. Without those windbags, the quarry might not have its special qualities. Now, why would the Ura sell off such a fascinating bags tended to the rocks, so we had to keep the rattletails at bay.
Oops.
In any case, it's fair to say the quarry was a godsend. Those rocks, all polished to a mirror sheen. The largest ones, you know as cores. A single core could keep the lights on in an entire city district. The smaller ones, we call them shards. A shard's got a fraction of a core's power, enough to fuel a voyage to the motherland. Well, now the quarry's all dried up. These rocks are much too young to be of use. Remember how I said rattletails ain't the worst thing in the quarry? That honor goes to a beast we took to Colin. Sir Lunky. Massive thing stomped many of our boys. We just couldn't get rid of him. The only thing harder than the rocks in Bastion Quarry is Sir Lunky's head. His big fat rump's plenty tough too, but so is the kid. Never could get stubborn old Lunky to leave the quarry alone. Then the kid hears a voice calling from down the hall. "Are you all right?" it says. It's him. "I've come to warn you," he says. The Bastion is under siege. Let it fall. You should not go back. Kid hears him, but he ain't about to be deterred. "If that's the way it is," he says, "then I won't stop you. Because my countrymen will." Say what you will about Zulf, but he's a man of his word. His countrymen don't much care for pleasantries, though. Zolf showed him the way here, and here they came to take revenge. No way out of this, not without a fight. They got inside the Bastion and shut the door. Kid's gotta go in through the back. I should have told him sooner about all this. Unfortunately, they broke in and they started digging their hole. Something wrong sprung out of those holes, and it's eating away in this place. We tried to stop it, but we needed help. Somehow, someway, he sensed those Ura packing. Problem is, it didn't matter. Zolf's plan worked. We find each other as the dust settles. Then I tell him why the Ura came. To get us back for the Calamity. It was Caelondia's master plan to wipe the Ura out. But part of that plan backfired, didn't it? If only Zolf knew the whole story. What were we to think? They must have got her, taken her back to her rightful home. Ain't always much to say. The shards can put this disease in remission, but there's only one cure. We need to finish what we started. The arsenal's complete, in case we need protection. Now all we need is one last shard. Don't want that thing leaving your hands until you decide it's time. Gotta make sure the pointy end's fastened on real tight. The sail hammer's only as strong as its spine. That's a strong spine. The city, its riches, nothing but fragments now. The sanctuary. If we can build, we can rebuild. The inspiration, a forge can fashion anything. The mercy, the windbags ain't the only beast that drew a bad lot. He put some finishing touches on the business end of that thing. Arrows like that can practically find their own way. comfortable bed for all those bullets. That ought to give those dueling pistols a little extra kick. You'd never guess those things been to the wilds and back. At least it won't get cold around here with that thing around. On the inside, a fire bellows ain't nothing like its more popular air-spitting cousin. That's the way to make every shot count. Even the army never issued carbines in such fine shape. To master the musket, you gotta get rid of the recoil. Normally, I wouldn't care to see a kid with a bike and machete in either hand. The Ura swooped down from the east. At least now we know the way. One last shard. It's all we need to put this mess behind us. And mother, what a mess it is. A mess like that could have only been made by hand. Zolf said the calamity failed. He's right. The Ura stand as living proof of that. Of the calamity was a simple idea. We never wanted to go to war again. We wanted to rule it out. We put a lot of folks against that problem. Scientists, soldiers, spies, even me. We sought solutions far beyond the city. We traveled near as far as the kid's going right now. Most of our efforts didn't bear fruit. Then there was a breakthrough, but it didn't come from one of our people. It came from an a brilliant young scientist named Ven. Ven worked for the Mancers, the sharpest knives in the city's drawer. With his help, the Mancers devised a way to seal the Ura tunnels shut in a flash. Just like that, every last Ura living in the Tassel Terminals will be gone. This discovery was never to be used, they said, except as a last resort. But Ven didn't like being manipulated. He had plans of his own. We're lucky to be alive. He sabotaged the Mancers' new science project, set it to blow up in their faces. Imagine how Ven must have felt when they finally made him pull that trigger. But remember, the Bastion can fix everything. We just need that shard. Three. It's too bad the Ura ain't exactly been willing to collaborate on that front. For now, Kid had little choice but to pick up where the Calamity left off. First things first, though. There's someone we figured needed rescuing. Zia. The Ura fell back, no doubt planning the next move, but we knew ours already. country. She's all the pieces now, but still looking good. Service for all the men and women who serve Zealandia. Taught him an old trick from a galleon gunner I once knew. With that mortar and hammer, he's like a one-man demolition squad. There's something we had to do before going after that last shard. Well, now it's personal, ain't it? It's personal for him. And it's personal for me. The Calamity did something wrong to some of them rocks. He finds his moment to strike. They never saw him coming. He gets his hands on the care package I sent him. Found a way to keep the Calamity from spreading through Sultan's Hollow. Kid has to put a damper on their plans. They got their own security and everything. Pretty fancy even. Still, they ain't used to having visitors around. They've got these conductors that are all what's keeping the place together. Break enough of those things and the Calamity rocks slink back into the ground. Those rocks are like tumors, the same kind they are planted in the Bastion. Well, the Ura must be in a panic right about now. Sick their little rattletail pets on the kid. picking the whole place apart, piece by piece. By now, every Ura from here to the terminals must know it's in town. The kid returns their greeting tenfold. Most of the Ura's conductors are squared away in the middle of the hollow. They're easy targets. Those calamity rods must be eating that place apart from the inside. The Ura keep hanging on to their barricade. After all, their homeland's not much farther. Some of them are downright bewildered by what's happening. Maybe they know they've lost this, lost to a kid. Underestimated us. Tax pay going wrong. Yes, our people caused the calamity. Here we are trying to fix it. Shame the opportunity for civilized discourse is over. Suppose old Zolf should have got to know us better. Maybe I should have trusted him. Told him everything I knew.
Okay, excuse me.
Zolf, the Ura, they have every reason to be angry. Beyond angry. As the hour grows desperate, the Ura bring out their big guns. The Ura ain't pulling their punches. But when this is all over, it'll all be water under the bridge. There's nothing standing in his way no more. He sees the Tazzle terminals loom large on the horizon. Way out there on the edge of the world, that's where he finally finds you. But it ain't like Prosper Bluff this time. Ain't nothing for this gal to sing about now. Zia, you weren't kidnapped. No, ma'am. You just had to see what happened to the Ura. To your own people. You had to see if everything Zolf wrote to you was true. Sure you didn't drop that twangy thing on purpose? Just to see if he'd go after you? They lost everything, didn't they? But they just keep on fighting like that's gonna bring it all back. I don't need to see what happened to the Ura. I'm trying to undo it, remember? Okay, now that's just plain overkill. I mean, come on. First step to learning the Calamity Cannon is knowing about the machinery overrides. Good thing I didn't throw away the manual. If you're feeling low, count on the buttery flavor of our own Bastion bourbon. Part of the rippling walls floated by, so I caught the kid's old knapsack. It's hard to sleep easy these days, what with everything that's happened. Zolf, very soon the kid's gonna have to face that man again, for the last time. They met on the worst day of Zulf's life. There in the Hanging Gardens, he aimed to throw it all away. It wasn't the first time Zulf had nothing to lose. He was born to a simple Ura couple who didn't last long before plague took him. He grew up hungry in the tunnels of the Tassel terminals, so he took to stealing from a Ceylonian missionary living there. He once got sloppy with his thieving hands. The missionary caught him, but didn't rat him out. Instead, he offered to take him in. That missionary raised Zulf like a gentleman, like he was his own son. Taught him theology, history, and mercy. Missionary passed away, Zulf promised to continue his work to bring about a lasting peace between the Ura and Ceylondia. Zulf started teaching the missionaries wisdom to any Ura who would listen, and listen they did. He advocated tolerance and argued that the Ura should atone for the war. He believed the city had much to teach his people. However, Zulf felt he could only do so much in the Tassel terminals. He needed Ceylondia to know the Ura had changed. decided to do what the missionary did many years before. He left the city of his youth to brave a savage land. The journey was hard, but he knew how to fend for himself. And then at last, Zolf saw the rippling walls on the horizon. He endeared himself to city folk straight away, and in turn he fell in love with the city and its people. One in particular. This young lady was fascinated by the Ura, but she never met anyone like Zolf. She told him she knew all the city's best-kept secrets. The Hanging Gardens was their favorite spot. It was there that Zolf clasped her hands and proposed in proper Ceylandian style. He celebrated with his friends long into the night. Joy and revelry like he'd never seen. Too bad he couldn't remember it all. It's all right. He woke up alone underground inside the Ura Ceylandian War Memorial, built like an Ura den. But something was wrong. From that hole in the ground into a waking nightmare. Everything that wasn't gone was twisted upside down. was frozen, air thick with ash. What few faces he saw on the street stared back at him with gray and vacant eyes. Wife-to-be asleep inside her home, but when he reached out to her, she joined with all the ashes in the sky. That story don't end well anyway. The calamity took everything from us. Might be it took even more from Zolf.
Let's try that again.
They met on the worst day of Zolf's life. There in the Hanging Gardens, he aimed to throw it all away. It wasn't the first time Zolf had nothing to lose. He was born to a simple Ura couple who didn't last long before plague took him. He grew up hungry in the tunnels of the Tassel terminals, so he took to stealing from a Ceylonian missionary living there. Once got sloppy with his thieving hands. The missionary caught him, but didn't rat him out. Instead, he offered to take him in. That missionary raised Zolf like a gentleman, like he was his own son. Taught him theology, history, and mercy. When the missionary passed away, Zolf promised to continue his work to bring about a lasting peace between the Ura and Ceylondia. Zolf started teaching the missionaries wisdom to any Ura who would listen, and listen they did. He advocated tolerance and argued that the Ura should atone for the war. He believed the city had much to teach his people. However, Zolf felt he could only do so much in the Tassel terminals. He needed Caelondia to know the Ura had changed. He decided to do what the missionary did many years before. He left the city of his youth to brave a savage land. The journey was hard, but he knew how to fend for himself. And then at last, Zolf saw the rippling walls on the horizon. He endeared himself to city folk straight away, and in turn he fell in love with the city and its people. One in particular. This young lady was fascinated by the Ura, but she never met anyone like Zolf. She told him she knew all the city's best-kept secrets. The Hanging Gardens was their favorite spot. It was there that Zolf clasped her hands and proposed in proper Caelondian style.
First playthrough. I only played a couple of hours this morning.
He celebrated with his friends long into the night. Joy and revelry like he'd never seen. Too bad he couldn't remember it all. Woke up alone underground inside the Ura Caelondian War Memorial, built like an Ura den. But something was wrong.
It does show. Was it their first game? Then yeah, that is impressive. It looks really... It's a lot more than what you expect for the first game. Save me googling that later.
He emerged from that hole in the ground into a waking nightmare. Everything that wasn't gone was twisted
Yeah,
upside
I was
down.
trying to balance that earlier.
The world was frozen, air thick with ash. What few faces he saw on the street stared back at him with gray and vacant eyes. He found his wife-to-be asleep inside her home, but when he reached out to her, she joined with all the ashes in the sky. And so Zolf returned to where he proposed in the Hanging Gardens, and there he stood, as if the gods would answer him. The kid's gonna be okay. As for that man, who knows? Once the kid gets that last shard from Zolf, it'll all be over. Wouldn't want to be on the receiving end of those. The Mancers, they knew everything, even if it cost them. I can't hear him at all anymore. He's too far away. But he'll be all right. Just needs to get that shard from Zulf and come on home. The Calamity hit the Tazzle terminals hardest of all. You know why Zulf went back there. The place was his home. All his old friends and family were there. Taken by the Calamity. Zulf must be there all alone, just waiting. You know what's funny? Well, all of us are waiting for a kid. Look around. There's not much left to do here in Bastion, I'm afraid. So why not tell each other stories to pass the time, right? But Zia, there's another reason I've been telling you all this. There's something I want you to understand. When the kid brings back that shard, the Bastion will be complete. What happens to Zulf no longer matter. Zealandia will be whole again. Everyone will be all right. Everything will be back to normal. Problem is, we'll all be gone. Oh, we're not gonna die. It's more like all of this will just stop. Things will go back to the way they used to be. That's the power of the Bastion. This whole place is a living record of the times before the Calamity. The way things were before this story. be your old self again. Think of all those times that didn't go your way. Setbacks. Imagine if you could have another go at him. You follow me? No mistakes. Anyone you've ever heard. Everything you've ever done, you could do it over. And wouldn't that be grand? Wouldn't you agree? Well, I guess there's nothing more to say.
Marasim. Den Geist. Brasilis. Razat. Lavegon. Den Geist. Brasilis. Framiga.
Who am I kidding? Look. There's something else. A confession. How come I know so much about the Bastion? Well, I designed the place, but that's beside the point.
Send me a link and I'll check it out later.
There's one problem with a place that sets things back to a bygone time. You can't test it. So you're probably wondering
really wanting to
if
play
the
now.
calamity happened already. What's to stop it from happening again
The one I remember is
after
not
the
being my
Bastion does
name.
its thing? The answer is... I don't know.
Thanks, bud.
You're wondering if there ain't some other way out of this mess. It's alright.
Whereas more the fact
I
that there
can
isn't
tell.
an option to turn my
But
mic up.
why would you even want another way? Unless you wanted to stay here with us.
Or one that I've been able to find. I spent a good while looking before and got nowhere with it.
Well, that's sweet and all, but I don't know if I can stick around. The weight of the calamity. It's on our shoulders. We can't just let it go. Bastion does have another function, strictly speaking. If ever the monument blew out, and we couldn't repair it, we could still evacuate. First, we'd round up as many folks as we could carry. Next, we'd detonate the cores, and we'd take off, away from here.
Maybe. I'll give it that a turn. After the stream. Give that a turn. Give it a go. Words.
Of course, that would mean no going back. Ever. But then again, that way all of us could leave the city. Together. You know Zolf and his countrymen won't be giving up that shard without a fight, don't you? Zolf and the Ura. All they want now is to see the Bastion fall. Zolf dedicated his life to a lasting peace between the Ura and Caelondia. He can't have imagined the city would try to wipe the Ura out. Zolf ain't lost every shred of decency though, has he? He tried to warn you about his plans. He tried to warn the kid.
God, this barrel is slow.
For Zolf, this ain't a personal matter. thing's for sure. The Ura can't be happy that the kid followed Zulf all the way home. I can see it now. The kid in one corner, and Zulf in the other. Ain't much of a fight. Don't you worry, though. Once the Bastion's restored, it'll all be alright. You ain't still thinking about that whole leaving the city thing, are you?
I set my sail, fly, the wind it will take me back to my home, sweet home. Lie on my back, clouds are making way for me. I'm coming home, sweet home. I see your star, you left it burning for me. Mother, I'm here. Eyes open wide.
Kid's probably dealt with Zulf by now.
Heart and it's glowing.
He reminds me of myself when I was his age. I ever tell you about those days? Hey, kid. Get up, kid. Come on, that ain't funny. I say get up. That's more like it. Now, set that shard into the monument there. Then we'll talk. The Bastion. It's finally finished. Now, there's something I want you to see. Welcome to the heart of the Bastion. I ain't one for long goodbyes, so here's the deal. Zia and I figure you done the heavy lifting, so you get to do the honors. We can tell you how to work this thing if you got any questions. Hey, kid. You can undo the calamity here and now. Go on, kid. And before I forget, thank you. Always wondered what the motherland was like. Not that it matters anymore. Zulf only brought more ruin to the Ura. No wonder they didn't take kindly to him. You've got one thing left to do, so you hang on to that badge. Besides, you earned it.
You made it. So, let's see. You can either prevent the calamity, or stick around with me and Rex. I'd hate to be in your shoes. If I could be any place I wanted, I'd stay right here. We could go anywhere in the world. Zulf tried to talk me into joining him. I tried to talk him out of it. I guess we both failed. When I finally found my people, I told them we could help. They just took me for a traitor. Glad you showed up. Any moment I'd want to live again happened after the calamity, not before. Ready to get this over with?
It's finished. Now, sit tight. It'll be over soon. No matter what happens next, you're done good. I suppose all that's left is to try and remember this moment. The Bastion's gonna take us back to a better time. Before any of this. Might be we'll forget everything you've done. And each other. Though after all we've been through, I find that hard to believe. So long, kid. Maybe I'll see it in the next one. Zealandia, we're coming home.
I set my sail, fly the wind it will take me back to my home, sweet home. Lie on my back, clouds are making way for me. I'm coming home, sweet home. I see your star, you left it floating for me. Brother, I'm here too long. Eyes open wide, I feel your heart is growing. One day that wall is gonna fall, sweet home. I take your hand, now you'll never be alone. One day your bird is gonna fly, sweet home. I see your star, you left it floating for me. Brother, I'm here too long.
Is because you know it's going to be music from the same people in the next game. Yeah, after playing Hades, I've been meaning to get around to Bastion and whatnot. Yeah, it is good shit. Yeah, I remember you telling me. Okay. Elo was saying earlier that there's like a new game plus, but I don't think he'd played it either, so he couldn't tell me more. Slash didn't want to tell me much to spoil the game as well. Very true. Nice. I am going to finish up the stream there for now though. I'll chat to you soon guys. See you, Del.